Dear Senator Chuck Schumer, in response to your post yesterday during the end of our country, where you called for bipartisanship in the United States Senate, fucking resign, you quisling bastard. Sincerely, Kyle Frame.
Can you say why America is the greatest country in the world?
It's not the greatest country in the world.
Finally, really did it. You maniac! I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore! He'll bring them death, and they will love him for it.
I say we take off and nuke the entire site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Recovery from Politics Podcast. I am your host, Kyle Frame, and today is Tuesday, January 21st, 2025. Honestly, I am thinking about changing the name from Recovery from Politics to Pissing into the Wind with Kyle Frame, but we'll see. We will see. So yesterday was just about as bad as everybody could imagine. Obviously and thankfully, paperwork does take a while, so the greatest atrocities, while they were probably signed into effect yesterday, haven't really taken effect yet. There is that time delay, and also it's not like he was president last week where he could order the military to, stand by to do some things. That order just went out yesterday. So, what exactly did he go through? Well, I'm going to start off with an issue I think is being underreported, and it affects a very specific group of individuals. This is the group of individuals that the Democratic leadership and party have decided to demonize as the reason they lost the election. So I don't expect them to put up much of a full-throated fight into this, but trans rights. If you want somebody who's dedicated solely to this, there's a page on Substack. I will post it in the show notes. They are on social media as Erin in the Morning, as one word. So ERIN in the Morning, one word. You can find them on almost every social media site, although they may have quit Shitter. But I have found, thankfully, through other people, that this is basically the go-to for trans rights and possible things. So what did Trump effectively do yesterday? Obviously, there's a lot to worry about of what he could do in the future and still has on the table. But what did he actually do yesterday? And we're going to start with trans rights. First, he removed legal recognition of transgender people. So that's going to be a problem. If you currently have a passport, I don't know this because I am not trans, and I don't have any trans people directly around me who have passports. But if you have a passport and it doesn't say male or female, that could be a real problem if you try to leave the country or try to get back in. So keep that in mind. That's wonderful. Here's one. Trans women will now be housed in male prisons. So if you were born male on your birth certificate, that's where you're going to jail. It doesn't matter what surgeries you've had. It doesn't matter how far along in the process you are. You will be imprisoned with men. I can't possibly see any negatives to this at all, because prison rape culture is such a uniquely American thing that it's commonplace. I totally don't see what adding a woman into a men's prison could possibly... how that could possibly work out in favor of just about anyone. There is an apparent ban on the forced use of pronouns. So this is just something to give people permission. If you say, hey, I'm he, him, or she, her, or they, them, or whatever, the government is allowed to say, go fuck yourself. This also gives permission to a lot of the maggots in your sphere to say, I don't have to recognize you. I can do what I want, and you can't do a damn thing about it. It's just permission to be an asshole, a bigot. That's all it is. It's an executive order for you to be an asshole. I'm honestly surprised there isn't one that says you can't, be punished for using the N-word. And the gender you are assigned at birth, now and forever, is what you are, period. You can't change it at all. The United States federal government will not recognize state IDs that say otherwise. So if you're traveling from one state to another and the feds stop you for whatever reason at all, they will not recognize your ID. So if you try to show them, hey, my ID says male and you appear female, they're going to treat you, they're going to treat that as a false ID. So congratulations. So those are specifically the things that have been done to the trans community overnight. Those are official. Those are happening. Legal challenges, I wouldn't expect much. This Supreme Court is, throw the Supreme Court in the trash. They're going to agree with whatever Trump says. So there's that. But for trans rights individuals, for all of you, this is very disheartening. This is a clear attack on your very existence, which is not shocking given who's doing it. But you are the big enemy of Christian nationalism, so they're coming for you. If you can still get out of the country, if that is an option for you, I highly, highly recommend it. Honestly. You are, aside from illegal immigrants, or immigrants in general, you were the most represented community in the giant middle finger that the Orange God King gave to you yesterday. I would leave the country. I would. If I could. If you can. Go. At a bare minimum, try to hide in a blue state and don't leave it. Ever. But again, those are issues that I just mentioned were stuff that was actually passed yesterday. Aaron in the Morning's website and the link that I post here actually has a list of things to watch out for, things that are coming down the pipeline. Obviously, they had other people to oppress yesterday. They couldn't just focus on trans people. Okay, so on to the other issues. An unconditional pardon of over 1,500 people involved in the attempted January 6th coup. This is giving blatant permission to extremism, to stochastic terrorism. Okay? The government is basically saying if we ask people to go mow down a group of protesters, we're going to pardon them. Trump will pardon you if you do his bidding. He's got his own brown shirts. They're just not calling them brown shirts. But we now have to fear about our neighbors next to us because whether they get a pardon or not, the signal has been sent that a pardon's on the table, at least. It's not immediately thrown out. Furthermore, he's directed the Department of Justice to stop all prosecutions regarding January 6th that are still ongoing. Again, giving permission. He has enacted a refugee ban from Afghanistan. So this one's fun. To any and all people who voted MAGA or voted Trump because you had misgivings about Biden's handling of Afghanistan, the refugees that Trump just barred are the same ones that Biden was trying to rectify his mistake over 3.5 years ago. So, seriously, shut the fuck up. As with any issue that Biden had a problem with, I acknowledged he had a lot of them. And I also acknowledged Trump will make each and every one way worse. So, harm mitigation, harm reduction, mitigation of events, whatever you want to call it. I'm sorry, if you voted thinking he was going to be better on any of the issues or pet peeves you had with Biden and Harris, go to hell. You're an idiot. I'm sorry, you are. It's fine. It was your right to do so, and I even said, if you have skin in the game, I can't really blame you too much for doing that. It's like I don't have anybody over in Gaza, so obviously I can't speak to it. It's easy for me and someone like me to vote for the lesser of two evils because we're not being directly affected by either. And I'm not saying, that this is what you deserve, because it's not, but I'm saying that if you're mad about it, like if you read about this and you're like, I can't believe he would do that, you're the type of person I'm telling to shut the fuck up. Like, You could vote Trump, and I would not blame you if you did. If you were a Muslim person, or you had family over in Gaza or in Afghanistan that was and you were directly affected by Biden's policies, and you said, you know what, I'm going to show them, I'm going to vote Trump. Fine, you're right. I respect that. I really do. Protest vote your ass off. I believe in protest voting. But you also gave up your right to bitch. Because you can't. Because we all told you this would happen. If you honestly voted for Trump because you thought he'll be better, sorry, that's just not. You can go to hell. Excuse me. Let's see. He ended birthright citizenship, and everyone's like, oh, but the courts will save us. The 14th Amendment is so very clear on this issue, and there's decades and decades of precedent, and the Supreme Court upholding that. Sure, guys. In the last 4 years, this Supreme Court has ignored decades of precedent on Roe. They misread the 14th Amendment so that states couldn't keep Trump off the ballot for insurrection, and they flat out just made up immunity for the president. They just made it up out of nothing. They just said he's got it, whatever. So don't think that the Supreme Court or any court is going to save you on any of these issues. I see a lot of people complaining about birthright citizenship online. They're all like, this will never stand through the courts. There's too much precedent and everything. And I'm like, have you guys been paying attention the last 4 years? This Supreme Court doesn't give a flying fuck about precedent. They don't care about intent. They don't care about anything at all. If it's something they don't like, they will just get rid of it. And I guarantee you this is going to fly straight through. Absolutely. Which means the president from now on will get to decide who is and who is not a citizen. And if you think this is the end of it, you're wrong, because right now, this particular executive order only says if you were here illegally, your children don't count. But this is the first opening salvo. There's still a case to be made that these guys aren't going to stop there. They're going to go all the way to the point where it says Kamala Harris actually should never have been vice president because she is not a citizen, because neither of her parents were natural born citizens here in the United States. That is where they are going with this. It's not going to end here. We have officially left the World Health Organization, which makes us one of only 2 countries. I honestly didn't know this was a country. Liechtenstein and the United States are now the only 2 countries not in the World Health Organization. Trump blames them for COVID, thinking they treated us unfairly or something else. Look, I have my own problems with the WHO. That this is not it. Leaving it is not it, and especially considering it's like if he left the UN, it'd be like, are you fucking serious right now? So yeah, not unexpected, but I didn't have it on my card. Let's see. He revoked all Biden electric vehicle targets by 2030. So Biden obviously enacted some targets that said, hey, we want majority electric cars, because that was his very capitalist idea that's going to save us from global warming. It's not, whatever. So this one's more of a gesture, because that was never going to save us anyway, but just the fact that he would do it, I'm more curious how someone like Musk feels about it, considering one of his largest companies is an electric vehicle manufacturer. So I don't know how that's going to work. Maybe he doesn't care. He might not. He officially renamed the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. First off, there's nothing saying that you have to do this. You don't. Also, no one in the rest of the world is going to call it the Gulf of America. At all. No one. But subsequently, just as a note, he has promised to change the name of Alaska's Mount Denali back to Mount McKinley. It used to be Mount McKinley, but it was changed in 2015 to reflect that Alaska had natives there before we showed up. And the majority of Alaska is not white people. It's actually still the natives. So he's that's still on the table. That's coming. But as far as changing the names of things, I also expect a lot of military bases that lost their Civil War Confederate names to go right back to that. But that surprisingly wasn't in there. Instead, it was more the Gulf to America thing. I don't know. It's Gulf of Mexico. I don't see what the big fucking deal is with him and this. This is just stupid. Somebody taught him about Manifest Destiny, and I really want to slap whoever did that. He reclassified federal employees to political hires, so that just means that he can fire them. It's that whole I work at the pleasure of the president bullshit. That means if you are a federal employee, you are now considered a political hire. You work at the pleasure of the president, and the president can fire you with or without cause any fucking time he wants. Yeah, so have fun with that. I hope that there are no federal employees who voted for him thinking it would improve their life. That's all I'll say on that. He declared a national emergency on energy to override restrictions on drilling in places like Alaska and national parks. So one trick Democrats have used over the years to keep corporations and fossil fuel diggers away from pristine, beautiful places like Yellowstone National Park is to declare them a national park. And that means that, no, you can't just fucking chop down the trees for timber, and you can't, go hunting in there without very, very specific permits. And you can't try to tap energy reserves that are in there. This land is meant to be preserved. And it's a very small portion of land, but there are a lot of people who've been pissed off at this because it is a trick that a lot of presidents can do on their own, just declare it. So MAGA's been very mad at this. They still think that there's a national energy emergency. We are producing so much energy right now, we're exporting it. There is no energy emergency. There's not. But whatever. The TikTok ban has been delayed for 75 days, which, if the courts were still on our side, I'd say, actually, he can't do that. They would slap him down and be like, look, the previous president signed into law, a law passed by Congress, that said this specific date at this specific time. A president can't just unilaterally say, yeah, we're going to kick it. Like, he would need an act of Congress to do this. However, this Congress is not going to fight him, and the Supreme Court or any courts aren't either. So, yeah, it's been delayed for 75 days. This, again, is in preparation. There are some people who believe Trump himself is making a move to be that 50% owner of TikTok. And so Trump talk is very, very possible. So if you're a TikToker who loves, democracy and freedom, or even left-wing memes, it's going to be shit here soon. On a side note, I did see a lot of people when TikTok came back up the other day, they were complaining that the algorithm has been changed because the second video they got was like Charlie Kirk from Talking Points USA, and maybe I get that screwed up, but it really doesn't matter. A right-wing nutball, basically the algorithm was updated, and they suspect that the shutdown was more so that they could change the algorithm before reenacting here in the United States. So TikTok is, for all intents and purposes, a right-wing outfit now. Good job. He rescinded 78 Biden executive actions. These were mostly focusing on minority rights and DEI, just saying that the United States should be, aware that we're not all white people. They hate that. They really do. So that got rescinded. He declared a national border emergency, which will allow the military to be used on the border. Again, my concerns with that are the military tend to see every problem and think that the answer is to shoot it. They're not going there for humanitarian causes. Let's just say Trump's not sending them there for that. He has withdrawn from the Paris Climate Agreement, which is shocking considering we just had the hottest year on record. Again, massive fires in California, massive hurricanes that can climb mountains now. We didn't know that. And, I found something out when I was looking that up. Biden, as president, never declared what was happening in California with the wildfires a national emergency. So thanks for the fuck you from him to Californians who voted for him. So you can't even say he was trying to be Trump on it. Drop the ball. Yeah, no, he was asleep at the wheel. He should have resigned a long time ago. I'm sorry, there's no excuse for that. And finally, one that's really sad, he has revoked sanctions on violent Israeli settlers in the West Bank. So, in case you didn't know, the West Bank and Gaza are the two main Palestinian territories, areas, occupied zones, I guess, in Israel. Israel claims control of them, but, that's where the Palestinians are supposedly allowed to live. And you have these violent Israeli settlers. You can find plenty of videos on the internet. I've played one here before, of these people who just come in and they take someone's house. And the Palestinian is left now without a house, and the Israelis there, and the IDF usually assists, so Israel's government knows about this. And what was going on basically was Biden, in a very, very small attempt to quell the anti-Israel rage that was going on here, said, well, I'll introduce some sanctions on those people that are taking people's homes, because that's bad. What's really sad is that he needed to have pressure put on him to do this. This seems like something that's just natural. And, without sanctions on that, seriously, if there are Palestinians left, if Gaza and West Bank are anything but graveyards by the end of this term, I'll be pleasantly surprised, although horrified. So, yeah, those are the main things that happened yesterday. That's certainly not a full list. There were over 200 of these fucking things. He really got off on it. So those are the things. I'm just kind of riffing on the list and, speaking my piece on that. So, yeah. But let's get to the meat and potatoes of today's discussion, the Democratic Quisling response to it all. The single largest capitulation from Democratic leadership yesterday comes from none other than the honorable senator from New York and Senate Minority Leader, former Senate Majority Leader, Chuck Schumer. His signature win during the Biden administration was some legislation that made limousines safer. And on social media, he posted, quote, "It is time to look to the future. The challenges that face America are many and great. The Senate must respond with resolve, bipartisanship, and fidelity to the working and middle class of this country." End quote. This Quisling fool posted this shit at nearly 6 p.m. yesterday. Plenty of time for him to see the vast majority of executive actions signed by the Orange God King of America. In fact, I know he was aware of what was going on because there's a photo of him standing next to Trump as he signed them. See? There he is. He's there. So is Hakeem Jeffries, but whatever. He's standing next to him at this signing ceremony. So fuck him royally. I don't know if he's off his rocker and being led around by aides at this point, but we have to start asking if this is elder abuse or not. The Democratic Party surely has a history with this kind of thing. Are some staffers just leading him around in the hallways so he doesn't run into the walls? Or is he being paid? Is someone paying him to shut the fuck up about everything that's going on? I know AIPAC loves this fucking guy. But is that who's doing it? Because I'm pretty sure I know which political party AIPAC prefers, and it certainly is not the Democratic one. Which brings up something concerning to me. If these groups are paying to both sides of the aisle, and it's obvious which one they prefer, why do they hold so much sway over the minority? Because all of those people that used to go to Obama rallies and talk about free speech and free trade, diversity, and green new jobs, they were all at the Orange God King of America's coronation yesterday. One photo encapsulated them all in the front row. One photo of a small group of people worth over $1 trillion. From left to right, that is Mark Zuckerberg, Lauren Sanchez, had to look her up. She's engaged to Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos, of course. Sundar Pichai, who I'm probably screwing that name up and I do apologize. I've never heard of this guy, but apparently he's the CEO of Google, and Elon Musk. 4 of the most powerful men in the world, capable, if they wanted, of just turning off a lot of our lives. And I'm not talking about the internet or specific websites you and I like to go to. All of them have massive contracts with the Department of Defense. Google provides their servers. They are the cloud. Anytime there's a cloud, it's Google. Google has it all. Musk, through Starlink, provides them with satellites. These guys are the ones who decide if the United States military, the so-called most powerful fighting force in the world, goes to war or not. In fact, Musk is currently fucking over Ukraine for Starlink, at Putin's behest. Not a single hearing where the Democrats, who controlled the Senate for the last 4 years, dragged him and started asking questions. They were so utterly petrified of his power, they never even tried to investigate him. Boy, could you imagine if the Senate Democrats, led by the majority leader Schumer, had the balls to drag Elon Musk before them in a hearing and put that lunatic under oath? Man, that could have backfired. He might have endorsed Trump and directed shitter traffic to promote Nazi ideology. Whoops. So, I'm a man. If I saw my girl out with other guys, I'd be pretty pissed about it. Why aren't the Democrats the ones storming the Capitol? Eat the rich, you say? They were all in the same room at the same time. I'm just saying, an opportunity presented itself. 0 counter-protesters. 0 scuffles. 0 people mobilized. Where was Pelosi? Dead silent. Where was Hakeem Jeffries? Oh, he was opposite Schumer next to Trump during his signing ceremony. But hey, I get it. Maybe he felt, he's duty bound to be there, right? Maybe he took to social media and put out a stunning rebuke. Nope, fucking crickets. And then there's the first confirmation for the Orange God King of America's new cabinet. Senator Marco Rubio for Secretary of Defense. He passed unanimously 99-0. Rubio himself was the lone no-show. So not even Elizabeth Warren, or Tammy Duckworth if you like her, not even Bernie fucking Sanders. Every single senator voted without question or protest from Trump's first cabinet member on Inauguration Day. Not one had the balls to take to the floor and say jack nor shit. Sure, I get it. Would have been futile. A filibuster wouldn't have stopped anything, but it would have thrown an admittedly brief wrench into the works, don't you think? It would have signaled, fuck you, we're not going to take this. Not a thing. And I really hope some of you are starting to see these senators the same way I do. The only thing I don't know was if this was groupthink or direction from the top down. We would all like to pretend, and I agree, that Schumer put foot to ass and demanded this unanimous vote in favor of some kind of political favor or maneuvering that he can turn in at some future moment, like, hey, I passed him, so you gotta let Hegseth die, or whatever. Maybe they passed this so they can get shit on the rest, but this was the one. This should have been where the resistance begins. Something. But absolutely not. After all, Biden didn't get this. This kindness shown to Marco Rubio will not be reciprocated. Antony Blinken was nominated by Biden for Secretary of State, and his vote was 78-22. He got 22 no votes, all MAGA. And this was after Joe Biden got a hell of a lot more of a mandate than the Orange God King of America just did. So we already know how this will play out in the future with this current crop of quislings in charge. You can't make MAGA love you. They'll never love you. Never. MAGA thinks you are the ones coming to kill them. Marjorie Taylor Greene said that yesterday. The left wants to kill MAGA. Actually, kill them. Human beings, dead in the streets. That's what she said.
Steve, there's no unity. No, absolutely not. No, these people would line us up in front of a firing squad and kill us if they could. We know exactly who the Democrats are. Their mask is off. Joe Biden pardoned his entire family. He pardoned General Milley. He pardoned Anthony Fauci. He pardoned the J6 committee members, and he pardoned Capitol police officers that turned against everyone. And so this is not unity. Let me spell this out really clear. Democrats, until you start writing big checks to Republicans and you start voting Republican, and Democrats here in Congress, when they vote for President Trump's agenda, then we can start talking about unity. But until then, there is no unity. There's President Trump's agenda, the MAGA agenda, and we have to get to work and deliver the mandate that the American people voted for.
No unity. Only Trump. And the United States Senate just voted unanimously for this party. Fuck these guys so hard. And before you get all, but Kyle, MTG is only one House member. She isn't even the chair of any committees. Let me remind you that she is MAGA's top fundraiser. You know the number one fundraiser is for the Democrats in the House? Nancy Pelosi. When you can bring in that kind of cash, you get influence above and beyond all the others in your party. Is there anyone showing any kind of fight in this broken party? Okay, is there anyone other than Fetterman treating the inauguration like any other day in his life? Can we get someone other than Cory Booker making a very bland statement he could make about any president of the United States? For those listening in, the Anti-Defamation League went out of its way to defend Elon Musk throwing up the Nazi salute as an awkward gesture. And AOC was having none of it. In the most defiant statement by any Democrat yesterday, she posted, sadly on Shitter, Alexandria, please, you have a Blue Sky account, I've seen you there, post there. Quote, just to be clear, you are defending a Heil Hitler salute that was performed and repeated for emphasis and clarity. People can officially stop listening to you as any sort of reputable source of information now. You work for them. Thank you for making that crystal clear to all. End quote. Thanks, sweet Lord baby Zeus for AOC. And on a little side note, fuck you to Nancy Pelosi who blocked this woman to a minority chair position on prominence for seniority reasons. You should be ashamed of yourself. Yes, AOC, who did not attend the inauguration, was the only Democrat to show a spine and fight anything coming from MAGA. Unlike the rest of Democratic leadership, she is not bending the knee, calling for bipartisanship, or just standing side by side with the Orange God King of America as he literally rips rights away from the weakest among us, and whom, from almost all accounts, party leadership cannot fucking stand. I have $10 that says when, because it's coming, when MAGA House members vote to censure or expel her, Dem leadership will not lift a finger to her defense. Why would they? They didn't lift a finger to defend Rashida Tlaib. She got 20 Democratic votes for her censure. Bad faith doesn't matter. Dems won't fight. Once again, I will ask you, find your local DNC chapter. Bring a friend if you can and challenge their status quo. It was on full display yesterday in case you missed it. They're not fighting. They don't know how to fight. They need our help. They need our voices. If you stay at home during this is how you would have acted in 1930s Germany, or during Orban's ascent in Hungary, or during Netanyahu's reign in Israel, or during Putin's Russia. I don't care how old you are. If you can vote, you should go to one of these damn meetings. You can be a voice for change, but only if you ante up. Okay, so that's today's show. I haven't seen really any news coming this morning yet. Kind of have to do that, otherwise you get caught up in the moment and you don't have time to reflect and think about what happened the day before, and all your plans end up out the window. And I really don't like to do that. I don't want to be like caught in the crosshairs every morning as soon as I open my phone, or like, what new fresh hell are we in? First off, that's a hell of a way to start the morning. Not that I'm doing much better, but don't do that. I try to avoid this. I try to like do as much of this the day of as possible. But yeah, thank you very much for listening. Stay safe. Get vaccinated. Flu, COVID, all the good stuff. The weather is horrible out there. Try to stay warm, and we'll see you next time.
Viva la resistance!